start. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Chat with Destiny Peace. And this week we're having a continuation of last week's topic, which is homosexuality accepted or not? With me, I've got Mr. Ejikson Peter and Dr. Chidi and also Mr. Etwang. Welcome, everyone. And my name is Destiny Peace, the host for today's program, Finding Solution. Let me throw in my first question. My first question is homosexuality a biological mishap or we'll say fantasy, or maybe sexuality style people develop based on life experience? So who wants to start?
All right. So that we don't, have an issue of who will speak. I'll just put my own opinion,
Okay.
right? For me, as I said the last time, homosexuality is actually a learned culture. It's not biological, just like the way my Christian faith is not something that came from biology, just like the way currently my political party, it's not something that has to do with biology. It's something that was learned. It's a learned culture. It's your sexual orientation, sexual preference, though personal to people. It's something, for me, homosexuality for me is something that was learned. It may have been learned maybe as a child. Maybe there were situations that made you learn it. As I said the last time where I was on this platform, if you notice, even most prisoners, statistics show they go into that prison straight. And then usually at the end of the day, they come out gay. So it's something, as people grow up, they try to experiment here, an alternative lifestyle here and there. And I feel as though that is where homosexuality, some people learn it, they just pick it up and then they grow with it. But definitely it has nothing to do with biology. It's just a personal decision. It's something that was learned.
Okay. Thank you. You're still standing on the same words you said last week. Thank you very much. You've spoken very well, Mr. Etwang. Welcome back again.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Peter, welcome back again. Dr. Chidi, do you want to add something? And then Mr. Peter would say he's next.
Yes, I totally agree with Emmy, right, concerning the fact that it was actually learned. It's not something they were born with. Now,
Okay.
Here's the thing. Speaking from the medical aspect, every human being, both male and female, the way the brain is wired is different, right? So if someone is being born a male or a female, there's a tendency they think different anyways. So the fact that they are born that way and then they grow into a community, there are influences that happen that changes their mindset, right? For us in Nigeria, I believe that a good percentage of people are not homosexual, they are heterosexual actually. But then when they go into an environment where they meet people and then they mingle, they begin to pick certain traits in the environment, right? So, and then when they do that, they try to now embed it into their own environment where they grew up from. And that's where the whole clash and the chaos begins with. So I agree with him with the fact that it's actually a learned trait. It's not something that you were born with. It's something they pick up from the environment.
Okay, sorry to cut you short, but I've met some people that I've actually spoken to, and they said that they were born that way, that they actually, felt like that from when they were children. So that comes to a bit of, I don't really want to use the word confusion, but it looks like, because some people will actually say they've always felt that way. I understand some people experience rape and, some situations that actually make them grow up, behaving or wanting to be people of such, nature. But some people actually say that they were born that way.
It's not to cut them, not to say they're liars or anything, but I don't think they are being honest with themselves. Okay, The thing is this: in the 19th century thereabouts, homosexuality was termed as a mental disorder, right? That was in the olden days, 19th century. So now that we've come into the 21st century, there's a change. I think the American Psychology Association or so, they now made a changed it from being a mental illness to a sexual orientation. So you see where I'm driving at. They are now making it to, they're now curbing it to suit whatever they want. Because back then, if you are born and then you have the tendency to start having sexual feelings with your own gender or so, you are termed something is wrong with you. You get? So now, most people, because of the advancement, they're now seeing it more or less like it's a sexual orientation, is how you feel, and then you have the right to express yourself sexually. So that's, I don't think there's any biological explanation to say, okay, yes, there's you were born a guy, but then you're having a feeling that you want to be a girl. I don't think there's any explanation. If there were, I mean, I'll be happy to know about it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chidi. Thank you very much. I appreciate your opinion on this. Mr. Peter, or which one you call? We prefer to say Dixon. What do you want me to call today?
You can actually call me any of them. They're Jackson or Peter.
Okay. Do you want to add something, to what we're talking about? Do you think homosexuality is a biological mishap, or it has to do with fantasy, or sexuality style that people actually develop? Do you think?
Yeah, I think depending on the angle you want to look at it from, there are actually several angles to this. I'd say there are some people that are actually that way naturally, and I'd say there are some people that actually learned it as a way of choosing what they want to do and the rest of that. So let's not forget about history. I think homosexuality in Africa predates a lot of things, a lot of factors. I think the colonial interference in Africa led to a lot of homophobia, because if you look at history in Africa, you discover that something like homosexuality actually exists in Africa. So
I've heard about that as well before, that it's not a thing of, present, that it's always been there in Africa as well. So
yeah. So let's establish something. There are different groups of scientists around the world. They say there's nothing like a gay gene. It's a myth. You understand? So I think just the way we have different people. I don't know how many of you are familiar with India. India legalized something called the third gender.
Yeah.
Okay.
The third gender. So, for a lot of years, many people argued that these people, they're actually products of biological mishaps, but the occurrence was constant, and we still even have people like that in Nigeria that are being discriminated against. So I think it's natural. That's from my own standpoint. I think it's natural. It's not something that some of them actually choose. And I also believe that it's actually learned. Some people are actually born straight, but they decide to learn it probably out of choice or something.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Dixon. And if we come to talk about what you said, the last statement you made, that where you say some people actually grew up, they were born straight, and they now decide to learn, or practice being gay or lesbians. Now, do you think is like some people will say smoking is, people like the doctors say smoking is bad, but people still go ahead and buy cigarettes now because they feel that it's their right. They choose to do what they want to do. So now when you say some people actually are straight and they now are practicing being gay or lesbian, do you think people should not actually leave them to be free to do what they want to do? Because it's like, to me, I think it's like smoking, taking alcohol, so, they'll say it's bad. Don't you think you should leave people to actually do that they have the right to do what they want to do with their body? Who
Um,
wants to?
um, Africa is actually a place with strong cultural values, and we are guided by religion, culture, and a lot of things. So, change is something that you have to take gradual with Africans, because down to society, every religion in Africa, including African traditional religion, we actually have a consensus on something, and that's the fact that um, homosexual is actually a taboo. You understand? But come to think of this, I'll give you an instance from Socrates. What is justice? That's something Socrates once postulated. What is justice? You give a madman, a man comes to you to give you a cutlass to keep for him, and the man comes back, and the man is back mad, and the man requests for you to give him back his cutlass. So you give him back his cutlass. That's justice. But at the end of justice, we like the whole community they're going to like suffer injustice, because the madman will end up harming everybody. You don't give him the cutlass. You deny him of justice. So to you now, what is justice? The lesson from the postulation from Socrates here is this: majority a choice of majority might not really reflect justice, but rather there should be a balance. Um, Personally, I don't believe in homosexuality and the rest of it, but come to think of, you have to respect these things. Let me give you an instance. If you've been to northern Nigeria, you see some people, they call them the Yandaudu. Yes, we used to call them Dandaudu. Everybody knows them in the society. They are like outcasts because they are actually gay. They are born that way. You can actually go to the north, you explore it. Uh, in ancient time in Yoruba land, they have the adofro. That's something has to do with somebody that has now sex and the rest. So these things are actually existing, but because of the way Africa is, it's like a shame. It's like a taboo. It's like a disgrace. So we tend to like hide these things. So the thing is now with this, what's justice? So um we go to other countries, we go to Europe and the rest, and we see them. You can't shout on somebody that's actually gay, but when you're in Africa, yeah, you shout on somebody that is gay. You discriminate against them. You discriminate against them in Europe, you lose your job. When Africa
But
here,
because I know that there's something that just happened with Desmond. Is it Tutu? His daughter that is a lesbian. She was supposed to do something. I heard about it briefly, and some people said because she's a lesbian, they would not. The church would not permit her, to be involved in that. So even over here, it's not. Some people actually frown, about that. So it's not just in Africa.
yeah, I think let's stick with our beliefs that we don't want homosexuality, and let's stick to our belief too that we should actually love one another. Understand? So I think there's no religion that actually preaches hate. In as much as you don't agree with somebody's idea, you don't agree with somebody's sexual orientation or what they look like or what they do. I think you can actually learn to actually respect them and show them love as a human being that
That's
they are. They are actually humans. So that's
that's
actually
true.
what I think.
Thank you, Mr. Edixon. You've spoken very, very well. Mr. Itwang, do you want to add something to what he has said?
All right. So I really appreciate him for being sincere in his delivering of his own opinions and all that. But let me just reverse a little bit and say something regarding the issue of homosexuality being natural. In my own opinion, as I said, is for me, I don't take it to be, because before there was something like an alcohol gene that was coming up during the earlier time that stated that people were born naturally alcoholics. Science has proven that to be wrong. there was something like a warrior gene that makes people aggressive. They tend to react violently, and science has come and proven that to be wrong. There's something now that they're bringing up, as I said, the homosexual stuff. For me personally, I personally feel, and I still remain on that, is for me, I feel as though it's learned, right? There's no scientific evidence. There's no research, no scientific evidence that proves to the fact that people were born natural. Even nature has its own raw state. If you look at animals, the way they live, the way they behave and all that, you can pick something, because in a way we're kind of like higher animals, right? So when you look at animals, just do this because we have will. God designed it that way. Human beings have will. So I can't, out of my own will, say, I want to follow a fellow man. I want to follow a fellow woman, right? It's just the way we are designed. We just want to do things out of our own will and all that. Now, regarding the issue of homosexuality, in Africa and all that, sincerely, they are human beings. They are homosexuals that their personalities are lovely, right? You shouldn't discriminate against people based on their sexual orientation. But please, let's be careful how we tread, especially in Africa. And that's one of the things I was saying the last time I was here. Africa is not ready for this subject, because the people that made up the culture and the values of Africa have said this thing is bad. Now, even if, as I said the last time, you make it legal, you are endangering people that practice the act. Because even in South Africa, where homosexuality is legal and is open, people go out for their gay march and all that. And that's another problem me personally I have, right? So if you want to be homosexual, but don't rub it in my face. Don't start a cancel culture, being aggressive. If I say what is in my mind, for instance, I personally feel as though homosexuality is disgusting, but I don't judge the person engaging in the act. But if I say that sometimes out there, especially in Europe, you tend to counsel people. It's not the way forward. You bring hatred to yourself. So what I was saying basically in Africa and South Africa, like for instance, it's okay there. But there are cases in South Africa where, because the culture has not accepted it, there's no embracing of the act there. If you go to the police station as a homosexual and say, oh, you were raped, for instance, as a lady, as serious as the concept of rape is, but you identify as a lesbian and all that, you were raped, you were defied by a fellow man and all that, you will not be taken seriously in terms of consideration. Nobody will attend to that case. Why? The policeman over there has not yet accepted the fact that this is normal. He still sees it and it normal. So, in other words, what our advice is, okay, yeah, we should respect people, but I feel as though the homosexuals are not literally respecting us again, right? Because they put it these days to our face and all that. But is it an act that should be accepted in Africa? For me, I feel as though we have a lot of problems in Africa. Homosexuality is the least of our problems. It's not something that, we should even be considering at this very point. But as time evolves, who knows when we consider it. But as I said, it's a learned something. It's not something that should be encouraged. It's not a good act that, okay, let's teach the children, let's celebrate it, let's have a day for their celebration and annual festival to mark their movement and all that. I personally, as a matter of personal opinion, don't see homosexuality as something that should be encouraged. Just like the way you not encourage alcoholism, you not encourage, in quote, violence and all that. I don't see it's something to be encouraged, but it shouldn't be discriminated against. So that's my view on what he has said so far and on the conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Etwang.